The story opens with Millie Calloway, the main character, arriving at the Winchester residence in search of employment. She has been struggling to find work, and Nina Winchester happens to be looking for a housemaid, which brings Millie to the house for the opportunity. Nina greets her at the door and begins explaining the responsibilities involved. She makes it clear that this meeting should be treated as an interview. Millie has falsely claimed on her resume that she holds a college degree, and Nina points out that this technically makes her overqualified for the position. Millie responds by saying that she genuinely enjoys domestic work. The job duties include cleaning, cooking, and assisting Nina's daughter, Cece. Nina proceeds to give Millie a tour of the house, assuring her that everything is well organized. While walking through, Millie notices a set of dolls arranged like a family at the dining table, a father, mother, and daughter. Nina then leads her to the maid's quarters located in the attic. When Millie sees the room, her expression shows clear discomfort. Nina reminds her again that this is only an interview and says she will make her decision later. She hands Millie $20 to cover her time and fuel costs. Millie accepts the money and leaves, convinced she will not get the job. That night, she sleeps in her car. The following morning, police officers wake her up. Millie explains that she is on her way to her mother's house and only stopped briefly to rest. While speaking to them, she receives a phone call and tells the officers it is from her mother. They leave with a warning not to text while driving. The call is actually from Nina Winchester, who offers Millie the job. Millie returns to the Winchester estate, but the gate is closed. Enzo, the groundskeeper, is working nearby, and she asks him to open it so she can enter. Inside the house, Millie notices a major difference. The house had been spotless during her interview, but now it is untidy and chaotic. Nina welcomes her again and immediately brings up a speech she needs to prepare for the PTA. Nina also notices that Millie is no longer wearing the glasses she had on during the interview. Millie begins working as instructed. Soon after, Andrew Winchester arrives along with another person. Nina introduces Millie to them, and Andrew warmly welcomes her. Millie goes up to her attic room and discovers that the window cannot be opened and the door only locks from the outside. Later, Nina brings her dinner and gives her a mobile phone explaining that a credit card has been added in case Millie needs to buy anything. Millie asks for a key to her room and mentions the issue with the window. Nina promises to take care of it. The next day, Millie oversleeps. When she wakes up and gets dressed, she tries to open the door but finds it stuck. After a moment, it finally opens. Downstairs, Nina is in a rage, screaming and breaking things. She demands to know where her PTA notes are. Andrew comes in and Nina accuses Millie of throwing the notes away. Nina continues searching while yelling. Andrew hugs her and calmly tries to comfort her. Nina turns to Millie and blames her, saying she has ruined her entire day. Millie begins cleaning up the mess. Andrew reassures her not to take it personally and leaves after calming Nina down. Outside, while throwing trash bags into the bin, Millie runs into Enzo. He asks her why she's there, and she tells him she works at a house. She then asks what he is doing there. Enzo seems about to say something, but suddenly notices Nina watching from the window. He immediately walks away without explaining. When Millie looks back at the window, no one is there. Later, Millie cleans the toilet and notices a pill floating in the water. She tries to open the cabinet behind the mirror, but Nina suddenly appears and startles her. Nina's presence feels threatening and intimidating. While Millie prepares a meal, Andrew stands nearby talking to her. Millie serves Cece her food, and Cece hands her an empty glass, asking for a clean one for juice. Andrew continues trying to be friendly and build a connection with Millie. At one point, Millie imagines herself looking at Andrew's online profile. Someone knocks on the door, and Andrew enters holding a cake, telling her he bought it for her. He leans in and kisses her. Then Millie wakes up, realizing it was just a dream. Later, while she is cooking, Nina quietly appears behind her and warns her to be careful while living in the house. She finally gives Millie the key to her room. Nina tastes the food and makes a comment that upsets Millie. Millie prepares to go out, but Nina questions where she is headed. She reminds Millie that Saturdays are supposed to be her day off, but she cannot spare her that day. She complains that she missed her hair appointment because of the missing notes. Millie explains she has an important meeting and asks for a few hours off, but Nina refuses. Andrew then steps in and suggests letting Millie go, as he plans to take Cece out anyway. Nina reluctantly agrees. Millie visits the probation and parole office to meet her officer. The officer asks why she left her previous job, and Millie explains that she got a new one. She provides her updated address and phone number. The officer warns her to stay out of trouble, reminding her that any mistake could result in serving the remaining 5 years of her sentence. Millie later receives a call from Nina, instructing her to pick up Cece from ballet class. Nina hangs up without providing the address. Millie searches for the address on her phone and rushes to the class, remembering Nina's warning not to be late. There, she meets a woman named Patrice and explains she is there for Cece. Cece then announces she will be spending the day at her friend Emma's house. Confused, Millie waits as Patrice calls Nina to confirm. Patrice confirms that Cece will be leaving with her. Back at the house, Andrew's mother arrives with antique Chinese dishes she bought with her. Nina tells Millie that Cece is having a sleepover and says there was no need to make such a fuss. Andrew's mother disapproves of Millie's clothing. Nina introduces her as Evelyn Winchester. Evelyn explains that the dishes belong to her own mother and tells Millie to store them somewhere safe so Nina doesn't break them accidentally. Andrew arrives shortly after and hugs his mother, noticing the dishes. That night, Millie cannot sleep. She goes downstairs, grabs something to eat, and turns on the television. Andrew joins her, and they begin talking. He tells Millie that Nina's parents died in a house fire when she was young, and no one ever discovered the cause. Suddenly, Nina appears and demands to know why they are together at 2 in the morning. Andrew explains and prepares to leave, saying goodnight. Nina watches him go, clearly disturbed and lost in thought. Soon after, Nina tells Millie that things are not working out and that she needs to pack her belongings and leave. She asks for the phone back. Millie pleads for another chance, and Nina finally gives her one more week. She warns Millie to dress properly around the house. As Millie leaves the room, Nina stops her and firmly tells her to stay away from Andrew. Later, while Millie cooks and Nina chats with her friends, Nina suddenly announces that they are going to hire a nanny. The others think she is pregnant and congratulate her. Then she says, not yet. Millie is listening. Nina says she is meeting an incredible pediatrician and hopes to have a child. Then she receives a call. She leaves saying it is from the pediatrician. She tells Millie to serve more tea. Then the other 3 women start to talk. They talk about her pregnancy and Andrew's charm. They also say Nina has spent 9 months in a mental hospital. Nina comes back. Millie is writing in her journal while sitting on her bed. Nina comes and says today was not a total disaster. She says Millie has to watch Cece on Saturday even though it's her day off. She says she and Andrew have an appointment in the city. Millie agrees. Millie and Cece go out together. Millie goes to the washroom and checks the medicine Nina keeps in the marrow cabinet. It is ho'operidol, which is given to people with certain mental disorders. Millie calls her friend Lexi and asks for help to find a job. Cece hears that and asks, "Are you leaving?" Millie hangs up the phone and says no. Millie tries to build a conversation with Cece. Millie sees a troll doll in Cece's room. She asks her whether she went there. She tells her not to go there. Nina comes and looks at the room. There are tears in her eyes. Andrew arrives after she leaves. Andrew asks Cece to go and play in her bedroom. Andrew starts to talk with Millie. He says he needs a lot of kids. He loves Cece, but Cece is not his biological daughter. Millie wakes up. She hears Nina screaming. She comes downstairs. It sounds like Andrew and Nina are having a fight. Millie knocks on the door. Nina opens the door. She has a knife with blood on her hand. Millie asks Andrew if he's okay. Nina laughs and says, "Did you overhear that PTA woman say I am crazy and I don't deserve my husband?" Millie calls Andrew. Andrew comes and takes the knife. He closes the door. The next day, Nina comes downstairs while Millie is working. She apologizes for not being honest about the baby. Nina gives Millie some extra clothes she has. Millie says no at first, but later she accepts them. Nina tells her to book tickets for a musical called Showdown and book a hotel for a full night. She thanks Millie. While Millie is waiting for Cece at her ballet class, she meets a woman named Suzanne. She asks Millie, "Are you with the Winchester family?" Millie says yes. Suzanne tells a story about Nina. She says Nina once tried to drown Cece in a bathtub when she was younger. At that time, Nina had also taken pills. Andrew called the police and saved the child. He requested a wellness check for Nina. Millie comes home with Cece. Enzo is working nearby. Millie asks Enzo, "What do you know about this family?" Enzo says, "You shouldn't be here." Millie asks, "Why?" Then Nina interrupts their conversation and tells Millie to leave him alone. Enzo moves away. Nina comes with the tickets Millie booked for the show and hotel. Nina asks, "Who told you to do this?" Millie says, "You told me to do it." Nina asks why she booked the tickets for the day she has to go to Washington for the art camp with Cece. She says the tickets are non-refundable and the cost will be cut from Millie's salary. Millie says she cannot afford that amount. Then Andrew comes. Nina tells him about the tickets and says they are non-refundable. Andrew tells her to call the credit card company and reverse the payment, but Nina refuses and goes inside. Andrew tells Millie she does not have to pay for it. On Saturday, Nina and Cece leave. Enzo sees Nina coming out of the washroom and avoids her. Andrew says he could not get the ticket refunded. He gives the tickets to Millie. Millie tells him to go with someone he knows, but Millie says she has no one to go with. Andrew asks her to go with him for the day. Millie agrees. Millie and Andrew get ready to go. Millie wears the clothes Nina gave her. They go to watch a movie and have dinner. Andrew says he runs a data processing company that he inherited from his father. He says he wants to be a father and have children. He says he loves his wife, but her character has changed. He asks Millie to dance, and they dance. They get 2 rooms at a hotel. Millie keeps receiving messages from Nina. She cannot reply. She knocks on Andrew's door and shows him the messages. Andrew says he will talk to Nina. Andrew lets Millie into the room. Millie says Nina wants to ruin her life. Andrew says he will not let her lose the job. Andrew kisses her. They spend the night together. They come home. Nina has not returned yet. When Nina comes back, Millie is preparing lunch. While they are eating, Nina asks how their night was. Nina asks Millie if she learned to cook in prison. She tells Andrew Millie was in jail for 10 years. She says it's a pleasure to be part of Millie's journey. Nina gives a catalog to Millie and tells her to go buy items using her car. Millie goes shopping. While she is using her phone, Jillian appears. She asks about the phone. Jillian says she is happy to see Millie trusting them. Millie asks what she means. Jillian says most nannies are not allowed to track their calls, messages, or locations. When Millie is ready to come home, the police arrest her. They say she is using a stolen car. Andrew comes and talks to the police. He brings Millie home. They return home, and Nina tells Andrew to come downstairs. Nina accuses Andrew of sleeping with Millie while she was away. She blames Millie for taking her clothes. Millie says Nina gave them to her. Andrew stops Nina and says he wants her to leave. He says she cannot ruin this poor girl's life. Andrew yells at Nina. Millie offers to help Nina pack her things. Nina slaps Millie. Millie leaves the house. She stops at the gate and starts crying. Andrew tells Millie to stay in the house. He says she does not need to find another job. They live together in the house. In the morning, Millie wakes up and prepares breakfast. When she's carrying the dishes, she sees Enzo staring through the window. She gets scared and the dishes fall on the floor. She screams. She asks Enzo, "What are you looking at?" Andrew comes downstairs. Millie tells him what happened. Andrew goes to Enzo. He says, "You are fired." The Chinese porcelain dishes that Andrew's mother gifted have been broken. Andrew tells Millie she does not have to do the housework. He tells her not to throw away the broken pieces. He says he knows a plate repair specialist. He can put them back together. Millie collects the broken pieces. Millie feels happy. She walks around the house and laughs. She feels relieved and safe. She sees the family of toys again. The father and the child are sitting at the dining table. The mother is lying in a hospital bed. Andrew comes home and sees that the plate pieces have been collected by Millie. He asks her why she did not clean them. They go to the room in the attic. Millie wakes up. All the things in the room are gone. The door is locked. She knocks on the door and calls Andrew. Andrew was on the other side of the door. She tells him to open it. Andrew leaves without opening it. Millie thinks it's a game. When Andrew tells Nina to leave, she stops at the gate and screams, then laughs and leaves the house. Nina is dancing, drinking, and listening to music. She starts to write a letter to her daughter Cece. She tells the story of her life. Nina's parents died when she was 8 due to a house fire. She grew up in foster homes. While growing up, she had to deal with many problems. She received a scholarship to law school. She fell in love with a married professor and had a baby together. The professor did not care about her or the child. She abandoned her degree and got a job at an institution as a secretary. Nina's boss told her to come to a meeting. The boss yelled at her. There was breast milk on her dress. Andrew was in that meeting and he noticed Nina. Andrew came and talked to her. Nina fell in love with him because of his wealth and appearance. Andrew proposed to her. They got married. Andrew comes to Nina while she's preparing meals. Andrew notices something wrong with her hair. He tells her to go to a salon and fix it. That night, Nina comes home after going out. Andrew comes to her and says he made some notes during a meeting and now they cannot be found. He tells Nina to go and look for them in the attic room. Nina goes there and opens the door. There are no files in the room. Nina tells Andrew there are no files. Andrew closes the door and says, "I know." He says he is very disappointed in her. He says her hair is a privilege and needs to be taken care of. He says it is embarrassing to have a wife showing her roots. Nina says she will get her hair fixed. Andrew says there's a consequence for her actions. He slides an envelope under the door. He tells her to pluck 100 hairs from her scalp with the roots intact. Nina thinks it's a joke. She keeps asking him to open the door. Andrew says he's sorry and leaves. Nina screams through the attic window. There's only a water bottle in the attic. She has to use a basket as a toilet. Andrew does not open the door. Then she starts to pluck her hair. She puts the hairs in the envelope and slides it under the door. Andrew comes back. He slides the envelope back and says one strand does not have a follicle. He tells her to start again. Andrew leaves. Nina starts plucking her hair again. This time she does it correctly. Andrew opens the door. Andrew comes in and gives her water. Nina comes out and runs looking for Cece. When she reaches Cece, she feels dizzy. She falls on the floor. Andrew has drugged her through the water. After some time, Nina wakes up. She goes looking for Cece. She sees Cece in the bathtub. The tap is running. Suddenly, the police arrive and arrest Nina. The police assume Nina took drugs and tried to drown her baby. Psychiatrists, police officers, and doctors do not believe her story. Nina wants to reach her child. She's forced to admit her faults and beg for freedom. Andrew takes her home. Nina has to spend 9 months in a psychiatric hospital. Everyone believes Andrew is a handsome and unlucky husband with a crazy wife. Nina is labeled as a dangerous and unstable mother. Andrew wants children and tries to have a baby with Nina, but Nina does not allow herself to conceive. She blackmails the doctor to say she cannot have children. If Nina does anything wrong, she is locked up. Enzo tries to help Nina. He makes fake passports for them, but Andrew finds them. Nina is sent back to the mental hospital. If Nina tries to escape, Andrew hunts her down and drags her back. Andrew becomes a hero. Nina cannot die because of her daughter. Andrew has a weakness. He needs to be adored. Enzo meets Nina. He tells her to run away with Cece. He says he will take care of Andrew. Nina says Andrew will never let her go. Enzo asks how. Nina says she's looking for someone who can attract Andrew. Andrew will try to possess her. Nina learns about Millie. She's blonde and pretty. She went to jail for murder. She was fired from her last job. She was living in her car. She was released on parole after 10 years. Millie has all the qualities Nina's looking for. Millie's trying to escape. Andrew comes and calls her. Andrew talks about the broken dish. He says now the dish is broken into 21 pieces. He gives Millie a piece and tells her to carve 21 lines on her belly. The lines should be long and deep. Millie pounds on the door. When Millie was in school, she saw her roommate going into their room with a boy. When she went inside, she saw them having sex. Millie grabbed a glass and hit the boy on the head. She didn't mean to kill him, but somehow he died. Millie tried to do the right thing. The dead boy was rich. Her roommate denied everything. Millie was sentenced to 15 years in prison. She was released on parole after 10 years. She lost her previous job because she saw the owner Charlie touching a girl. She hit him with a glass. Millie's thinking in the dark. She finds a small knife kept by Nina. She takes the broken dish piece. She starts to carve 21 lines. Andrew comes in. He tries to calm her down. He says, "I want to live with you, but there is a consequence for your actions." Andrew looks at the lines. Suddenly, Millie stabs Andrew in the neck with a small knife. She grabs her phone. Andrew tries to catch her. Millie manages to escape. She locks Andrew inside the room. She notices there's a camera in the room. Everything can be seen and recorded. Millie comes downstairs and starts to eat. Andrew's mother has made a message asking whether he served the divorce papers. Millie takes all the antique Chinese dishes. She goes to the room. She gives Andrew a pair of pliers and tells him to pull out his teeth because she wants to destroy the smile that drives women crazy. Andrew refuses and says he will not pull out his teeth. Millie reminds him about the consequences. Millie starts throwing the Chinese antiques onto the floor. Andrew becomes angry. He smashes the door. He threatens. Millie pours gasoline under the door. She threatens to burn the house down. Andrew finally takes the pliers and pulls out a tooth. Millie watches him closely. Millie rests while watching a movie. She watches Andrew through the camera. Nina arrives at the Winchester house. She believes Millie is still in the attic. She goes to open the door. Millie tells her to stop, but it's too late. Andrew gets out. He hits Nina. Millie hits Andrew back. Andrew starts chasing Millie. Millie manages to escape by hitting him again. Andrew looks for Millie. He calls her name. He hears a voice from upstairs. Andrew goes upstairs and sees Nina. He talks to her calmly. He tries to persuade her to come back to him. Nina refuses and calls him a liar. Andrew attacks Nina. Millie comes from behind and pushes him. Andrew falls and dies. Nina tells Millie to run and never come back. Millie keeps Andrew's tooth near the body. The police arrive and question Nina. The officer says she knows something about Andrew. Andrew was once engaged to the officer's sister, Kathleen. 8 years ago, Kathleen came to the officer's house in the middle of the night. She had completely changed. The officer says she will record the incident as a strange household accident.